Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all my wonderful and beautiful little lovelies out there. And how I love you all so, and I hope that you're all super duper well, super duper wonderful, and super duper delish, and that life is treating you most deliciously. We're feeling the love. I hope that we continue to feel the love, my little honey bunnies. Now, what's the time, Mr. Will? So it's exactly 1:30 p.m. In our old England, in my Brummyland Martelish babies on this 22nd of August 2026. The sun has got his hat on, hip 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 hooray. Okay, Martelish babies, yeah, so it's sunny out there. I wouldn't say it's marvellously warm, but nevertheless, at least it's sun shining. But the past couple of days, if it's raining, okay? Martelish babies. Now then, I hope that wherever you are in the world, that life is treating you most deliciously, okay? And I hope that you've got beautiful weather. Well, of course, if you haven't got beautiful weather, well, you know, whatever you're doing with your time, I'm sure that you can make anything beautiful, can't you, my delicious babies? I've been making everything beautiful since early this morning, clearing the rewind and start again. Cleaning my back garden. What I mean by that is getting up, you know, the little weeds out the slabs, my delicious babies. I needed to take, from my beautiful dear little sweet neighbours upstairs. I needed to take some parts of an old tree that were cut down. So I went and took it back down to the park, you know, put it back into the, with all of the bushes, with everything, you know what I mean? So it can go back into the ground. So that's my good thing that I've done today, my delicious babies. So yeah, cleaned out the front, you know, yeah, so it's all lovely and tidy. I baked my cakes yesterday, you know what I mean? Flipping baking away, I am my delicious babies, let me tell you. If I knew you were coming out to bake cake, how'd you do, how'd you do, how'd you do, yeah. But the good thing is, my delicious babies, is that I'm only speaking personally, I'm not talking about anybody else. Anybody else can do as they will. Uh, but with my particular cakes, I can, you know, bake as many as I like, really, and just going over the dots. I can bake as many as I like, my delicious babies, because I do not fill them full of sugar. Okay, my delicious babies, there we are, and that's the key, just not to do it. Okay, so you can still have something that's delicious, but it's not like, you know what I mean, like where you probably have to have a gallon of water or a gallon of tea or coffee, you know, just for it to go down your throat. You know what I mean? Martin babies. So yes, it's always good just to, yeah. And of course, I've mastered Martin babies. I have mastered it. Homemade custard. So you know, like where you can buy it in a. Ones will remember. For many, they'll all remember this. It's called bird's custard. Okay, so it would usually come in like a tub, a tin, and then you can use that, then add the milk and sugar, you know what I mean? I do the custard from scratch. So, you know, say if you want to get two good bowls of custard with cake or with a crumble, because later I'm going to make some apple crumble, my delicious babies. Well, anyway, the point is that to get like a decent amount, you know, in each bowl. So that would require 3 eggs, uh, a little bit of sugar like this, not a lot, just in a cup, just a little bit of sugar. Okay, just mix that together. Then you start to add the milk, full fat. Must always be full fat. So we thank our beautiful and dear sweet, beautiful little cows. Okay, so just keep adding the milk. You know what I mean. Then you need 2 level tablespoons of flour. My delicious babies, you can have plain or whatever you want to use. You know, whatever you've got handy. You know, there we are. That's what I say. Okay, and then finally a teaspoon of not vanilla essence, vanilla extract. Märzenstück babies, okay, because that's it's rather strong actually. Because I buy the more expensive one in a little glass bottle. Okay, it's called Neeson something that I use. Okay, Märzenstück babies, and yeah, if you want to put in a bit more extract, then you can. Do you know what I mean? But the point is not to get it lumpy, so you just got to keep stirring, stirring, stirring. Yeah, in the alternative media, there's quite a few stirrers, isn't there, Martin? Babies, yes. Okay, and then boom, you've got your custard. Okay, my delicious babies. And what's even better is that one's a tasted my custard, not in that way, not in that way. I'm talking about our beautiful dear little neighbours and friends. There we are, and they happen to really love it. They said it tastes like like a shop bought or something. Do you know what I mean? Okay, but it's the real thing. So I haven't used the powder. I've done it from scratch. Okay, Martelistic babies. So it's just what it is. Once you get into this, as what I found, okay, I'm actually rather enjoying it, okay. So it's just another little hobby. Now, as the weather starts to get a little bit, duller, so it won't be um, very sociable to go and sit in the garden, my delicious babies, because I mean, you'd be freezing. If I had a pair of knackers, you'd be, freezing me knackers off my delicious babies, you know what I mean? So I'm going to start back up with me sewing. So I said to me, beautiful dear little friend Kaz, who's, she's one of my beautiful dear little friends, because I only have a very small circle, you know what I mean? My delicious babies, yes. Many associates, but only a small number of friends. There we are. Best way to keep it. Okay, my delicious babies. And I said to her, I said, so when the weather turns a bit, I said, shall we do a bit of sewing together? And she said, yes, that'll be nice. And then we're just going to, because she bought me last year for my birthday, she bought me a little sewing machine, my delicious baby. So, yes, so we're going to be getting into sewing. So, still got to sort the allotment out. So that'll be another thing that I'm going to be doing, Marzlichtig babies. Okay, so I have many different things now. Then there we are to keep myself occupied. Do you know what I mean? I like to with myself. Okay, I'm not what you'd call an academic woman. I'm nothing like that, Marzlichtig babies. I'm more a practical. I'm good with my hands. Do you know what I mean? So if somebody says something to me, oh, help me with this or do this or whatever, you know what I mean? Then that's what I'll do. Do you know what I mean? Marzlichtig babies. I'm just better that way. I've always been that way with the hands rather than, do you know what I mean? Please do not get me wrong. I can write for England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. I do prefer to write things down, okay? Because it's your own, writing, isn't it, Marzlichtig babies? So, for that reason, I enjoy doing that. Okay, and if you look at my books, you'll see yourself. You know what I mean? It's all written down, or wrote down, whatever you want to call it. Um, but and I do enjoy to read, although I have to really get myself into a really good book. You know what I mean? Martin babies, but I can read books. I would say, as long as I do not have to keep picking them up and putting them down every 5 minutes. I can read a book, there we are, very quickly, then I store the information that I need to. Do you know what I mean, Martin babies? That's the best way for anybody to do it. The key is not to remember everything because, as we very well know, if we go back decades ago, you've seen it, haven't you? Somebody who remembers every single thing, and do you know what I mean? Well, the key is not to do that, only take out, there we are, what you need. That's what I do. It's the same when I watch videos, exactly the same. I use the same, there we are, format every time. Do you know what I mean? I only take out what I need, you see, and then I store it. Okay, so it's always there. Do you see what I mean, Martin babies? Yes. Which leads me on to saying, so I'm actually subscribed only recently. I think I'm only subscribed to about 27, I'd say probably about 27 uploaders. That's it, Martin babies. I'm hardly really subscribed to anybody, okay? That'll be on a YouTube. And then there's a few that there's two on Odyssey, and then there's is it two or three on Rumble? That's it. I do not like to overload myself. Do you see what I'm saying, Mads, Lustig babies, okay? Because I need to be able to, there we are, to concentrate on, there we are, on as much as possible. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes, so that's why I say to you, I never try to remember everything. And especially like when I've done hundreds upon hundreds of readings, Mads, Lustig babies, I'm not meant to remember. There's very little that I'm ever meant to remember. For everything else, boom, go straight over me noddle. Do you know what I mean, Mads? Babies. I just have a funny way of how I do things. You know what I mean? And I'm very fascinated at how ones do things, whether it's carpentry, mechanics, electrics. You know, I'm always asking questions. Well, why do you do this? Or why do you do that? Well, that's what you're supposed to do. There we are. You're supposed to ask. You know. And that's all I've got to say there. Well, Postman Pat, Postman Pat, Postman Pat, and his black and white cats. Yeah, Royal Mail's just gone up the road now to the Schlick babies. Anyway, so yeah, I've just recently subscribed. So this uploader happens, and with anybody not in that way, not in that way. This uploader happens to have 20.2 thousand subscribers, my delicious little babies, okay? And the uploader is called, now these are all spaces, okay, my delicious little babies, capital T, Tesla, as in the car, the wheels. There's, yeah, there is a number of Teslas around, my delicious little babies. Space, curly hand, so it's not the other hand, the writing, it's a curly one. You know, I think that came in later, didn't it, my delicious little babies, just like many things. And then another space, capital T, D, then another space, capital C, cabbage, then another space, capital P, patch, as in, you know, you've got a patch, you know, just like a parrot. There's a lot of parrots, isn't there, Mads? Babies, yeah. And then space, capital K, kids, K with one D. So it should read all spaces, Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids. That's the upload of my delicious babies. Now, the dear man, not in that way, is called Guy Anderson. And he's happening to interview on his video another man called Charles Ross. Okay, my delicious babies. So what I've done now, so I can get my notifications. So, because I was scrolling through the videos, I come across guys, and I thought, no, I thought I want to watch this because it's 2 hours and 10 minutes long and so many seconds, my delicious babies. So, at this point, I am 3/4 of the way through it. It's so interesting, my delicious babies. Now, there was a while back when I was talking about Tartaria, but this is such a banging, there we are, conversation. And I enjoy conversations like this because at the end of the day, we need to be able to put everything together, my delicious babies, okay? But that requires, okay, for a lot of dear uploaders, such as these two gentlemen, and our lovely, not in that way, our lovely dear davidike.com, David Icke, and of course, you know, their dear Gareth, dear Jamie, and dear Richard, their friend, who has also done a hell of a lot of research, okay? So I am subscribed to all of our little lovelies, okay, my delicious babies, because we need to know things, but all of these dear uploaders are doing their utmost. Now, it's not easy work, my delicious babies, going through, there we are, all of this history, okay, because the way that ones are being taught, all of us, has been nothing but a load of flipping effing bullshit, man. Do you know what I mean? They've twisted everything. And I'm very fascinated with anything to do with these topics and subjects, my delicious babies. So I do not see anything funny about these type of videos at all. I take them, there we are, extremely seriously, my delicious babies. And really, I believe that everybody else should as well. That's just my view. I'm not telling, what to do. I'm just saying, if ones were to to listen more and then maybe say to themselves, oh, I think I'm going to, or rather, I feel, because you have to think, it usually means no, in my book, anyway, personally. Okay, my delicious babies. But if you spare a thought and then say to yourself, okay, oh, I wouldn't mind researching something like that, or UFOs, or flying saucers, or what went on in different wars, my delicious little babies. Do you know what I mean? For most, there we are. If they really got into it, there we are. They would find it very fascinating. Do you see what I'm saying? And the more pairs of hands and the more noddles that we've got can make the work, there we are, lighter for all of, there we are, for all of us. You know what I mean? But of course, even I've said this about other deer uploaders. You do get ones who are what I call, for some mankind. Who put comments. There's some who just put very nasty and vile comments, my delicious babies. Well, are they the ones? And I asked this question. I haven't asked it for years on my videos. Are they the ones who are sitting there doing hours and days and months and weeks and years, there we are, of research? So when you've got the audacity now to send a damn ring flipping nasty comments, are they doing any of this work? No, they're not. But they're so, they're so quick to criticise others and to criticise somebody else's work. Please do not get me wrong, my delicious babies. I'm the first woman. Everybody knows that with myself. I will say to you, if I wanted to, I could make a list of all of the sharp flipping YouTube channels, my delicious babies. I could give you a long list, but I'm not going to do it. It would take myself a lot to say something. Occasionally, there we are, I will. Or if I want to call somebody out, you know what I mean, my delicious babies, there we are, then occasionally I will. But I would never ever, I was watching another video, it was the other day, and I did put a little comment. Now, because, in the world that we're in, my delicious babies, ones want to blame little rats on everything. They want to just blame, and they're just trying to find food, just like you and I must eat, because we need to eat and drink to feed our bodies. It's fuel, isn't it? Well, beautiful little rats are just the same. And there was a video I was watching, it was the other day. I never watched all of it, just a bit. And it was all to do with the drains, and it was all to do with the, this man, and he was talking about. And I just put a comment, which I did, and I put thank you. I put I am not criticising your channel, and I did put that, my delicious babies, okay? I put I am not criticising your channel, and I said, but it's not rats who are the problem. It's not little rats who are the problem. I said it's mankind who's the problem, because they create, don't they? Just like, let me give you an example. I'm not talking about the bin men and the bin ladies. I'm not talking about that, okay? What I'm talking about, like, we're back on a fortnightly, so it's every 2 weeks, where they come and collect the rubbish. Now, unless you keep, which I do, and I keep surrounding myself, my really lovely and sweet little friends, neighbours, okay, I will actually, because I've got a hose in my back garden, and I'm not going to bore you all with everything, I'm just getting to the point here, and I clean out everybody's bins. Well, it doesn't take myself no time at all, just some hot water, some spray and everything, you know what I mean? I've got my hose, and then I just, hot water, then cold water, just hose it all down. You're good to go. Do you know what I mean, my delicious babies? Okay, it makes all the difference. So it means that your bins are not stinking out so much, and you know what I mean? Then it's just not stinking out the neighbourhood. But getting to the point what I'm saying, but if you are leaving bin bags which are on the floors, which at one time, before we had all these wheelie bins, Mards, little babies, okay, they used to have to just put time in bags and everything, just leave it like that, which of course, if they're foraging for food, they're going to naturally tear open the bags and they're going to be looking for food, aren't they? But who's caused the problem in the first place? So it's the ones who are supposed to be running our countries. So we get back to it again, mad little babies. It's a circle, circle, circle. That's what you're dealing. There we are. That's what you're dealing with. There we are, constantly. Okay, so you have to try and keep the bags off the floor. Trying to keep. Do you know what I mean? So little rats will only go. Well, I mean, they say the sewers and all these sorts of things now. Then, but if you get back to it, I'm not talking about your average Joe Blogs walking down the road, no disrespect. I'm talking about who causes these problems, okay? And not only that, but how can you get super rats? We went through this years ago. How can you get super? What are they doing to these rats and then letting them out into society and then ended up with massive size rats? Because the most rats that I've seen, they're not usually that bloody size. Anyway, I've just gone off onto something else, my delicious babies, but I wasn't criticising the channel. I was just pointing out that somebody's have caused this. There we are, in the first place. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, I've noticed, that's what I wanted to tell you. I've noticed about certain cleaning products. And these certain cleaning products, my delicious babies, okay? And I'll tell you which one is one of them, Flash. Flash. Oh. And there's others, my delicious babies, okay? They seem to attract, there we are, the rats. Not the rats, the flies. Sorry, do forgive me. So now I could have a shower. So I'm using shower gel, aren't I? I'm using shampoo. But depending on what shampoo it is or what shower gel, I haven't really kept a track, to be honest. I really should, okay? But I noticed sometimes, and I thought, hold on a minute, the rats, not the rats, the flies just keep flying around. So what is it about the water, my delicious babies, which is attracting the flies as well? Do you see what I'm saying? Or what is it that's in the shower gels? Because we all know it's bloody damn well poison, my delicious babies, okay? We do not need anybody to tell ourselves that because there we are, we already know this. But we have to look at all of these things. But it's usually somebody, there we are, who causes these problems. So I wasn't criticising the channel. I was just simple things. I was just pointing something out. But I wasn't saying to himself that he's the problem. I'm going, there we are, back to others who cause the problem. It's like, okay, let me just give you an example. Maybe I'm not making myself understandable enough, okay? So you've got a zoo, haven't you? For an example, so usually in every town, every city, every country, you will have zoos, okay, which they're caged animals. I do not personally believe anything should be caged, but that's my personal view, my delicious babies. But so, say for example, if somebody was to open the cages and let the lions out and let the tigers out and let, and especially if they hadn't had any food, they hadn't had a meal. Well, what are they going to do? It's there we are, it's ding ding dong dong common sense. I'm not saying this to you, my delicious babies, because if you're listening to my channel, there we are, then you will also have common sense. Do you see what I mean? Bless you all. And thank you for any views, for any likes, the occasional comments. Anyway, let's fast forward. So if they're hungry, they're going to look for food, aren't they? It's common sense. There we are. Well, it's the same with little rats. They're no different. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's the point that I'm making. So somebody, there we are, let them out in the first place. Simple thing. That's what I'm saying. This is how my noddle, there we are. That's how it works. But, they have to eat as well. Do you know what I mean? But they do produce at a very rapid rate. Do you know what I mean, Mads? Babies, okay? So I'm just explaining it that way. Sorry, excuse me, Mads, babies. Now, so the video should read, "The Empire Strikes Back. The Nazi History They Never Told You," with Charles Ross. Okay, Mads, babies, so I'm just going to repeat it just once again for you. "The Empire Strikes Back. The Nazi History They Never Told You," with Charles Ross. Yes, Mads, babies. So now we've got to close our books. We need to go backwards, yes. And then what Guy and Charles are discussing on this video, there's also to do with their Star Wars. Me personally, I was never into Star Wars. It's not something I was ever into, my delicious babies. But to be honest with you, I wasn't really into. I used to watch some films when I was. Anyway, I'm not old now, but decades ago, I used to watch some films, my delicious babies. But I'm not a big film fan, so I'm not a large film fan, my delicious babies. I never have been. Okay. Um, but so they talk about Star Wars, um, and they talk about different cultures, which I've talked about as well. If you go back, to do with different cultures, to do with different nationalities, we would learn there we are so much more. So I've talked in videos myself there we are about this, and where things go back and back and back. There we are. Do you see what I mean? So I get everything. Bless dear Guy and bless dear Charles. There we are. I get everything what they're saying, but they do get someone to send them very nasty comments. Well, it's a simple thing, isn't it? If they do not want to watch the videos and they find them, because for some, they cannot get the noddles around it, this is a problem. So they cannot get the noddles around it. So rather than just clicking off and saying to themselves, okay, I do not understand this, or maybe I'll save the video, then I'll go back and then I'll try to understand it. So rather than doing that, what they do is they'll just leave a damn rank nasty comment. Well, if they don't want to listen, just move from the channel. There we are, simple things. You know what I mean? But don't dish somebody who is doing lots of research. That's what really cheeses me off, my delicious babies. And this is why, we're in the world that we're in. I mean, I've known plenty. I mean, ones are called myself as well. Because when they were talking, I thought, yes. I said it out loud anyway, because I'm always talking to videos, you know what I mean? I'm going, yes, no, you know what I mean? And everything, while I'm getting everything else done. And then, I've been called a tinfoil hat. I've been called everything. I mean, at the end of the day, am I bothered about it? No. If anybody was to send myself a negative comment, I'd just delete it. And to be honest, nobody really ever sends me any comments, so you know what I mean? But if they did, and I never liked it, I'd delete it. If I wanted to respond back to it, I would respond back to it, but I'd delete theirs. So I'd keep mine, just a good, there we are, just a good measure. You know what I mean, my delicious babies? But no, nobody should ever do that. And these are the very same ones, who live in, there we are, planet Nanu, 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 and Cloud Cuckoo Land, my delicious babies. These are what you're dealing with in the world for some. Some mothers do have them, my delicious babies. That's what you're dealing with. Do you see what I mean? But I'd like to see them do years of there we are, years of research. Instead of going round and insulting everybody else, there we are, who's trying to get to the bottom, basically, why we're all here in the first place. Do you see what I mean, my delicious babies? But there's so much, and there's so much information, but we have to ask ourselves. I've talked about maps, there we are, I've talked about a lot of things and things too, where, why get rid of all of these long, that go on forever, these maps? Why get rid of those? Because somebody, there we are, is keeping them, aren't they? Do you see what I mean? Okay. And they talk about that. What else they talk about? Parts of the world where you're not allowed to go to, like Antarctica. Well, Guy was well within his rights. He's not the only one to say, because there's also other dear uploaders as well as his dear self, not in that way, not in that way with anybody, who have the common sense, ding, ding, dong, dong. Do you know what I mean? To say, well, who is it up to a small amount to say that you and I cannot go anywhere, we cannot go here, we cannot go there? Well, nobody's got the right to do that, have they? If somebody wants to go and travel, to, I don't know what one's called, the ends of the earth, um, well, and of course, that's debatable, because some will say something and some will say something else, but it's important, my delicious babies. And I always say this, I've said this every other decade, you must never rule it out. You must never sit there and just laugh at something. It's always important to use our noddles, use our ears if we're blessed to hear, and use our eyes if we're blessed to see, and use our mouths if we're blessed to talk and speak. You know, it's important to take it in, to listen to all different videos, other sides of topics and subjects. Do you see what I mean? But if you get two who are doing, and this is why I love listening to the channels regularly who I listen to, because if they're talking to others, okay, generally speaking, they're all on the same song sheet. Do you see what I'm saying, Martin? Babies? Yes, that's what I'm saying. But just to disregard, sorry, my heart's delicious baby. She's one of my lovely dear little neighbours and friends. Oh, not in that way, not in that way, bless. Just giving them a wave. The point is, my delicious babies, it's important to listen. Do you see what I mean? And then ones can make their own minds up, can't they? Do you see what I'm saying? But just to dismiss it, just straight away, oh, that's not true. That's just a load of crocker sharp. That's just a load of rubbish. Well, how do you know it's a load of rubbish? How do any of us know it's a load of rubbish? I personally do not feel it's a load of rubbish. No, I do not. Because I believe in all these things. Like, I believe that there are other beings in other places, shall we say. I believe in all of this. And I'm not ashamed to say that I believe in it, because I do believe in it. Just like I've believed for decades. There we are. It's like you feel like, there we are, like you're being watched. No, not just the cameras, my delicious babies, because they're effing everywhere, aren't they, my delicious babies? I'm talking about where you just feel, there we are, like you're being watched all the time, my delicious babies. I felt like that for decades. So, there's a lot of truth, there we are, in a lot of things, but they're absolutely right. And Charles was absolutely banging correct what he said, because he said, he says where you're not allowed to talk about this, you're not allowed to talk about that. This is me talking about, I have mentioned this before, dear Jim Rizzoli. He's on BitChute, my delicious babies. I don't know if he's on Rumble. I'm not sure. He could be on. I think he's on Rumble as well. Bless him. Not in that way. Not in that way. But dear Jim Rizzoli, because he's got his wife Diana, but they do like a walk and talk. But he was banned from everywhere because he was talking about the Holocaust. Now others, more and more, have come out. Because what they're saying is, how can you have, because if you imagine a cremation, you can only do, I don't mean to upset anybody what I'm talking about, but I'm just, I'm speaking the truth, and my beautiful dear creator loved the truth, isn't it? How I love them so. The point of matter is, Martin babies, haven't said that for quite a while, have I? The point is that others are speaking out, because they're saying, well, you could only cremate. That doesn't mean no. You can only cremate so many mankind in a day. So how did he get it to that figure? Anyway, well, the point of the matter is, Martin babies. This is not what Guy and Charles were talking about. This is something separate now. The point is, Jim Rizzoli got banged off everywhere because there we are, because he questioned it. You say, but you shouldn't be banged off everywhere because you're asking questions or because you've been doing your research. And by the way, Jim Rizzoli actually went to where this Holocaust was meant to be. But going back, let's swing back now to Guy and Charles. What they're saying is that, if you say something, okay, and it's not going by the original, the original, in the Vatican, isn't it? But so there we are, certainly hidden away. But the point is, if ones are meant to just follow history as what it says, and not sort of, politely speaking, this is just my words, poke your damn nose in and say, okay, well, I'm not too sure about that's taken place in history, then the fact is, this is when they're not aliking, the to whom it may concern. This is when they're not aliking it, are they? Because you're questioning, and that's the whole point. But I love all types of videos that we are like this, I really do. Because the more and more we look into it, is the more and more that things that we are will make sense that we are to our noddles. Okay? So that's all I wanted to say, my delicious babies. I know it sounds like I've gone round the raking, do you know what I mean? But no, I just, there we are, wanted to make a point of what I'm saying. Okay, so wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, please have a super duper delicious time. You only get one life, my little honey bunnies. Sending peace, love, harmony, and bright blessings to each and every one of you. May your beautiful little selves and your beautiful little families, may you all be fully protected, and how I love you so. Please take care of yourselves now then, and please try to take care of others, okay? Because we are in a bonkers, crackers, and crazy world. But yes, I do not believe that anybody should just dismiss, and especially if they do not have any knowledge or any understanding on a certain topic or subject. Do you know what I mean? They should at least make some form of an effort. There we are, to look into it. Do you know what I mean? Before just, as I would call it, writing something off. Anyway, I'm still drinking my sparkling water and orange juice, my delicious babies. So until my next video, just have a sip, please, and thank you. Delish. Until my next video, thank you once again for any views, for any likes, for the occasional comments. How I do love you, there we are. How I do love you also, okay? I know that not many will watch my videos, but to who you are, okay, I love you to my heart, okay? But the point is yes, ones need to look more into things. And like I say, more pairs of hands, more eyes and ears, and to speak, and using our noddles makes lighter work. There we are. You know what I mean? Because everybody needs some help somewhere, and there's always somebody else who can give some more input. Okay, my delicious babies, and that's why I have gladly advertised, as I do with any of my regular uploaders who I listen to. I will gladly advertise them. Do you know what I mean? Because somewhere, somehow, the message, there we are, gets out. And somebody who hasn't listened to this or hasn't taken a look into a particular topic or subject, may say to themselves, oh, okay, okay, when I've got 5 minutes, when I've got five now, then, you know what I mean? I'll take a listen. Do you see what I mean? And that's how there we are, that's how it happens. Do you see? Okay? But, we're living in a world where it's a bit crackers. And like ones are just so busy all the time for most of them. Just trying to live is hard enough, isn't it, Mardelistic babies, you know what I mean? But others would just rather watch the football or watch a film. Oh, one last thing I want to say, Mardelistic babies, that shorty video that I did yesterday to do the slide and football and the tent, I wasn't talking about my beautiful dear little sweet neighbours. I was giving a message, there we are, out, there we are, to what I was saying. And that little squirrel Daisy, that's not my little Daisy, that's another squirrel. Okay, my delicious babies, but I'm delivering, there we are, a message that ones, there we are, who've been kind enough to watch my videos, okay? You're going to get where I'm coming from. I just put everything together and I just bang out the short video. That's what I did, simple thing. Do you see what I mean? I wasn't talking about my beautiful, dear, little, sweet little family upstairs. No, I was not. I just see things visually, then I say, okay, and I put it together in my noddle. That's how I do things. You see what I mean? My delicious babies, yes. And of course, I'm very good at listening as well. Okay, my delicious babies. So until my next video, how I love you so. Take care. Thank you for everything. Goodbye.